What is
the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
The video is going to be all the questions that I would ask. I was going to have Patreons first, but then I found in the editing it's more digestible if I kind of break it up a little bit. It makes it a bit choppier and a bit sort of more jazzy, so to speak. God, you can't just say jazzy, can you, Pete? You have to fucking do a little shit dance. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Alright, it's on.
You're going to introduce what the video is about?
Well, to figure I'm just going to jump straight into the questions.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, here how we give the name. That could be like...
Well, you can just do it now. That's good. We'll leave that in. So the first question is by a fellow called, or by a human called Death by Astonishment, starting us off nice and light with, "Hey Pete and Tree, do you fear death? Have either of you experienced an existential crisis?" I remember when I was a teenager, I used to lie awake thinking about the void and, you know, the nothing and what it is when we die and that we don't quite know, and I used to worry a bit about that. But that was when I was younger. Now I don't frankly care too much. What do you always say about it? What do you always say that before you were born or something?
Oh, yeah, I don't fear it because I figure it's going to be a lot like before we were born, and that doesn't really... That was a nothing. But the only thing I do worry about is, like, with having children, them, you know, not being old enough.
Oh, if we were to both die and then...
Or even just one, like...
And have to get raised by my wicked sister or something.
But yeah, I just...
She's not really wicked.
I remember when we had newborn and... you'd always worry when you went to sleep, oh, when are they going to sort of wake up? And then when you woke up in the morning and they'd slept through, you're really relieved. I feel like that's what it's like. If you can get the kids to a certain age where you know they'll be all right, then it's...
Then we can just die.
It's all over.
It's all over. Just give up.
But no, that's,
life gets a bit hard, that'll be it.
That's my only real fear.
A few negative YouTube comments, that's it. Over. So yeah, no, that's about it. Me when I was younger, and she's got, old Carl Sagan over here's got much healthier philosophy towards it all. Richard Cameron Lewis asks what I prefer on my tool steel knives, a natural patina, a forced patina, or no patina at all. I quite like a naturally developing patina. It makes the knife mine, a bit like my Spyderco Police. The marks, I can all sort of remember where they came from or when they appeared, and it's if it's a knife that you're not planning on moving on, then I quite like the personification, no, the personalization that it ends up sort of naturally imbuing onto your piece. Oh, Dave asks, to what or whom do I attribute my sense of humour? I have the mind of a good comedy writer. False, I cannot write comedy, but I can make things up at the time, and I put probably, out of 100% of the things I put on film, maybe 40% of them actually make it to my YouTube channel. I've got a horrendously unfunny B-reel. I think we were lucky enough to grow up with seasons 3 to seasons 9 of The Simpsons as our bread and butter. Like, and I've just...
You got you and The Simpsons.
No, but it's true. You can't... We got Foxtel, and you can't even get The Simpsons on Foxtel. And so you have to get it on Disney Plus. So we got Disney Plus for the fucking Simpsons, which I never thought would happen. But yeah, it's an outrage. Like, you should just be able to get that. It's so annoying. You should be able to get that anywhere. Anyway, so that was our heyday. Those Simpsons. The Simpsons since season 15's been pretty bad, and since season 20 it's been really average, just bloated guest appearances and stuff. But yes, we grew up in the heyday of The Simpsons, and then in my teenage years we had The Mighty Boosh, I've always been a Monty Python fan, so just good exposure to good British comedy, and yeah, even good American comedy, and I was a drama nerd doing theatre sports, things like that, all through. So I think that's where I get like my... And the thing is, you just try all sorts of really random ideas, and sometimes it'll link up and become funny, and oftentimes it just doesn't, and so you just shelve it, and that's what it is too. You only see the best of me. Dave Axman asks, does YouTube show me my demographics and things like that, who's watching ladies versus men? Yeah, it does. YouTube's got incredibly robust analytical stuff that's on offer to you when you have a channel. It shows you everything. Like, you can go pretty deep. The main takeaways are most of my audience is in America. It's a bit of a sausage fest. It's mostly dudes, but hey, here's a whole bunch of, I'll put a bunch of them up on the screen now if you're interested. They're usually pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. Alrighty, so this is the main dashboard. It's got like messages set up here about, everyone's going to get down a few subs as they get rid of all the dead channels and dead accounts. This is your main stuff. My latest uploads, how it's done compared to my other uploads usually do. So you can see it's getting more than usual watch time and hours and stuff like that, which is cool. This is like your basic analytics, how many subs I've got, how many views I'm getting, watch time. That's what YouTube loves, is the watch time. They'll love this video because it's like an hour long. And these are like my top videos at the moment and how many they're getting. So I haven't uploaded for a couple of days, so it's kind of bottomed out to my evergreen British short-haired cat review, which is always doing well for me. And then just basic news, right? And then we've got, if you go to Analytics tab, you can look at all this good stuff. So this is how many views I'm getting, and it's really live. This is in the last month, I think. My watch time, it's gone up a little tiny bit. My subs have gone down because I haven't been as active. And the money starts to go up a little bit more. That's per month. I think that's Australian, from all the ads that it's making. And it's usually different once, but it's fairly accurate. So that's gone up a bit as well. At this time of year, it goes up a little bit. I think just because ads are worth more because it's the festive buying season. These are my top videos in terms of last 28 days views. British Shorthair Cat is evergreen, Tormek T4, and my home sharpening system. Those three are always in the top 5 pretty much. They must be good videos or just more popular videos, whatever. Real-time activity, all that sort of stuff. So you can go more into your audience here, which is how many unique viewers I get. Most of my viewers are not subscribed, so that's why so many YouTubers are about those attention-grabbing headlines and all that sort of stuff, and attention-grabbing thumbnails and things like that. Subscribers, it's a healthy amount, and then who knows what unknown is. See, it's a fair sausage fest, the 92.3, and the female is actually lower than that on my average video, because if you look at my British Shorthair video, that's about 60-40, and I reckon that's swinging the demos up. A little bit towards more even, but still so far out. But there you go. That's just this interest, isn't it? Knives, not something to use to pick up babes, that's for sure. US, you can see here, is my primary viewer source. And which is why, you don't want to, I'm not going to try and alienate the Americans with anything too radical or stuff that they wouldn't want, I guess, because it just wouldn't make sense for me. I want to sort of keep everyone, want to have a happy audience, And yet most of my age group are people about my age and older. So luckily, I'm quite fortunately, and this is why I don't really worry too much about being child safe, because kids just don't watch my channel. So, whatever. I mean, all this is gained from people who have, I guess, YouTube accounts, and also if you had all your cookies on your computer for ages and it can figure out how old you are, I think that's how it goes. But yeah. And of course, you can go into your videos, you can see more detail about all of your videos. So this is like, I haven't uploaded this one yet, my Alliance Designs one yet. And now, so say you can see here really easily which videos aren't doing as well. So obviously the window vac video is doing less good. The military video, because it's a knife video, is doing more good. And this is pretty much, pretty helpful. It's funny, all the things you try and like bring those viewers in. My biggest spike lately was my Falcon Even videos. They did pretty well. Just a lot of interest in them because they were new. It's a bit of a science to it, but I generally just make the videos I want to make, and I'm not too fussed about how many people watch because the videos just feel good to make. But yeah, that's my analytics. Hope that's of some interest to everyone. You can go way deeper into it, but there's lots of people who do this. Go check out Jake's Very British Reviews. He talks about this stuff all the time. So that's that. Mr. Panda39 asks, what do I think about the cheaper Tormek wheel grinder rip-offs? I have no thoughts. I've never tried any of them. To be honest, how can you really muck up a whetstone? But then, people can muck up all sorts of things as well. So I would say if it was like an inconsequential amount of money, like under $100, I'd probably give one a try. But I reckon they're all still about 200-ish. And I've looked at them and I'm like, maybe I should do a head-to-head, but
for a start, my Tormek needs a lot done to it to bring it back up to a head-to-head again. Like, my stone's pretty worn, my leather strop's got a knock in it from where I dropped the thing. So there's a bit going on here that I still need to fix, but I'd like to do a head-to-head at one point, but yeah, I just have to get the motivation up to do it.
Hey Pete, I just watched your YouTube question submission. Who decorated the wonderful Christmas tree behind you? Well, there's only a certain amount of culprits it could be.
We hired someone.
Yeah, we got the Fab Five in to do our Christmas tree. The fellow who was just on the cover of Cosmo, he did it. No, the kids did it. It's lots of them are kids' family decorations on there. And when the lights are on, does the flash portion induce a seizure in anyone?
I think he's joking.
Yeah, he says joking. So no, yes, we will have a good one, Michael. Thank you for your question.
This user asks, what do I think of doing weight tests for my EDC knife locks? Well, I'm yet to find a suitable way of doing it. This isn't really working. But in all seriousness, I do own all my knives and use all my knives as my own practical stuff, so I don't really want to ruin them. I don't have the resources that like Blade HQ had when they did all those wonderful tests. So that's that. Ruining a knife lock is worse than just ruining the edge for a bit. It's generally cactus when you do that.
Oh, Oscar has addressed a comment directly to you. Teresa, my wife has come to appreciate my affinity for sharp knives when she uses one in the kitchen. He still does most of the chopping. What have you come to appreciate of my knife hobby? She's had time to look over these and think of answers too.
It is nice to have a knife that will chop through like a tomato quite nicely.
Some basic people knives, like non-knife people knives, are pretty depressing. Like when people send me theirs to sharpen, that's what we used to be dealing with.
It is nice. I wouldn't say it's life-changing.
It isn't. What's it all for then? The best thing about lately is probably that it's self-sustaining because of the YouTube bucks and the ad revenue and stuff. That's pretty nice. It's
nice that you have a thing that you like to do, and that's it doesn't need to be any more than that.
Keeps me busy.
Do I consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? A Christmas movie, is that something you would only wheel out and watch at Christmas time? Because I think Die Hard is fairly evergreen, but at Christmas time, I guess it does feel a little bit more at home as well. So as a all-around movie, it's great, but it is also an excellent movie to watch at Christmas time because it does have those festive themes.
Mao has asked, am I going to go into full-time housewife product reviews because of the recent pressure cleaning? And although they aren't new, I did review the kettle, the tea thing.
Oh, yeah.
I reviewed that. That went down very averagely. I think I'm maxing out at about 1,000 views on most of those videos. So no, I wouldn't say. I'd probably have to rebrand myself. When's the next Dickhead Survival? Whenever I can get it done. Are zombie knives illegal in SA yet? Do you know? In New South Wales, they illegalised zombie knives, so actual themed knives. Just
why?
Because it's
just the same knives but green.
Yeah, it's just stupid legislating from fucking boomers, no doubt. Anyway, and Subaru or Nissan, Mitsubishi.
Thomas asked, did Mr. Ankerson or anyone from Spyderco loan me a province in 4 beta test? Let's see the data on the knife. Yeah, no, I don't have any formal relationships with any of the companies anymore. Apart from Sandrin recently sent me 2 things, but that's, yeah, even that I was hesitant about, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know anyone at any of the companies, and nor do I really want to. Don't want to be involved on that level really. I've got some 4V on a Spyderco Mule that I'll be testing pretty soon. And I've also tested it a few other times as well. But the Province, it does look like a wonderful big knife. It looks like a really svelte BK7 or something, like really cool. But yeah, no, I don't have any of those relationships really. So the only other person I think in the industry that I kind of know is Joe Flowers, but that's just because we're both anime nerds and we talk about that most of the time. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really have any of those inside connections to get anything. Sometimes Nick handballs me a Spyderco that he's reviewed, and then I'll handball that on to someone else, but that's about it.
Some good basic questions. Everyone can enjoy these ones. What's your favourite movie?
Jurassic Park, all of them.
Dread, 2012, Dread. What's your favourite Christmas movie?
Elf.
Yeah, I like Die Hard for a Christmas movie. I talk about that in another video response as well. And then A-Ray also said first, so thumbs up for A-Ray. Thumbs up. Good job, man.
Carlos EDC asks, can you shout my channel out? Carlos EDC. Alright. Carlos EDC.
Jive Valet. 2 questions, if I may. When it comes to introducing someone to knives, either kids or a partner, do you recommend any particular knives or actions? Of all of my knives, which are the ones that you hate the least? Like, of the ones that, to say open and close, and if I was to, like, which one of my knives would you choose if you had to use one?
Well, I did take one of your little ones to work to use.
The Alma Falcon Ultralight.
That was, you didn't feel like, too much of a weirdo, like opening that up in the office. And
it's a very genial looking knife, isn't it? Very sort of, almost like a little folding steak knife, isn't it, really? And easy enough to operate and open and close. So that's perhaps a good idea. Very expensive, though, for a Falcon, just to give them away willy-nilly.
How much are they?
They're like $150, but which isn't much compared to some of the others, but the things they're made of shouldn't be worth that much.
I guess it's a lot to take to work when usually you leave containers and stuff at work.
And when you just open stuff with the old chomper here, before she got a knife.
And for cute children, what about that?
Ah, for children, yeah.
That non-knife that we gave our daughter.
Oh yeah, geez, I'll put a thing of it now on the screen. It's just, it somehow cuts, but it doesn't have an edge. It's amazing. It's like a, you'll see. And also, would you consider it worthwhile starting my own YouTube channel in 2020, given all the hoops creators have to jump through? Yeah, it's one of those things. I seem to have got in at the right time, because I think now you have to have a certain amount of subs even to be eligible for partnership, and there's just so many people doing so many channels now.
Just do it for the love.
Yeah, do it for, like, because that's what mine is. I never really tried to, I just was doing Nut and Fancy rip-offs at the start, and it kind of just went from there. So if you've got something you really want to do, then you just do it anyway because you want to express it. Or you just feel like, even if you reach that one person, you've done all right. She's done a bit of YouTube, and she's, there's a guy here later who says he watched your channel.
No, tens of viewers.
Yeah, but it's very targeted stuff. But you feel good just sharing it. And one of your videos has 500 views on it. That's all right. The Predator one, yeah. Probably because it's got Predator in the title, but because it's the movie. But that's what you got to do to get your views. But so yeah, either, if you're really keen, you'll still get enjoyment even if no one's watching, or even if like 1 or 2 people are watching, and that's how I started. But otherwise, I can't imagine it being super easy anymore to like get to this level. I see lots of little knife channels especially just kind of struggling at about that 1,000 mark, and just kind of really you got to put out something every day to just get in everyone's feeds, and then because people will see 10 videos, they might click on one. It's hard, man. So don't know.
Jeff Smith asks, which knife would I buy someone to get them hooked on knives? Hooked on knives, yeah, because you can buy someone a good user knife. You can buy someone a Spyderco Delica, but it might not necessarily get them hooked on knives in general or into the hobby. I'd say you'd want to get them something with good action. So I think, as much as it's not my favourite knife in the world, I think a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 or a Benchmade 940 have that factor of being mechanically interesting, as well as obviously good knives in hand as well. And I think they're great places for most folks to start. And it's often why it's kind of the initial grail of people just getting into the hobby as well. So I did a video about buying gift knives a while back that probably delved into this a little bit more. So perhaps check that one out too. But yeah, I'd say those just evergreen knives, but the ones that have sort of something to them rather than just being a lockback or just being a very basic liner lock, I think is kind of what you're after.
Do you have an agreed on knife budget?
No.
No, it's generally just from the channel's resources. I don't think I trouble our main finances too much with it, especially not lately where I've been a bit off behind altogether. But no, I've never had any issues with like, I need X amount of money per week for this. As my knife hobbies have gotten more intense, the Patreon and the YouTube's helped me meet that challenge. Do I buy all my knives, or have I got any for free? I buy probably 98% of them. Joe Flowers sent me the Condor Pterosaur. We struck up a little friendship on Instagram. Sandrin sent me the chef's knife and a new TCK. Nick sometimes sends me some of his gifted knives that were given to him by Spyderco, and then they just get usually given to other people as well. And the fellow with the Waterway sent me the Spyderco Waterway, the Fisherman. And that was really cool, but yeah, it's not my standard practice because I don't really want to know these higher up types. Don't want to do the channel in that sort of sense.
Gray asks if it was legal and socially acceptable to carry a knife on my belt, which one would I take? It would be this guy here, the Falcon Even F1 Pro. I'm absolutely loving this guy lately. It is, yeah, it's definitely my new F1, that's for sure. Really, really good little knife. Much easier to cut with and much better at cutting than I thought it was going to be. And I much prefer this non-slab style handle in terms of comfort and stuff. And the overall durability isn't super essential to me. So this has probably been my favourite of all those Falcon Evens I bought pretty recently, which is funny because it's not any of those new X series ones.
Spongy. Is it weird that Christmas is in the summer for you guys, but all the movies and the songs are about winter? Well, that's all we've ever known.
They also don't obviously know the Australian 10 days of Christmas.
What's that? What is it?
You don't know the Australian 10 days of Christmas?
Is it like the...
Can you do it at school?
What is it like?
They like Aussie up all of the 10 days.
Do you mean the 12 days of Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
No, we only count to 10 in Australia. So how many fingers we got? We only got 12 fingers. What the fuck's 12? Yeah, no, I don't even know what that is.
You don't know them?
Is it the partridge ending in the partridge in a pear tree? The ending was like a frill neck lizard drinking goon or something?
I think it's something about a veranda out. No, I can't remember the...
That's Give Me a Home.
No,
that's the theme for that. That's the theme to Burke's Backyard.
We did it at school, but that was so
Christmas.
long ago. But anyway, it's just what we know.
Yeah, and you just kind of assume you watch Home Alone. It's Kevin's running through the snowy New York streets, and you're like looking outside. It's like 45 degrees Celsius, and you're like,
I mean, all our ornaments all have snow in them.
it's true. Yeah,
it's like the same thing.
So we make do. We get through it.
Triple E EDC is asking a question about rope. If as a family, and am I orphaning small rope children? Well, I hope so, because just a sisal rope is nasty stuff, and it does its fair share of damage to my knife edges too. How big a rope does my sisal? How big a house does my sisal rope supplier have? That is an interesting thing, and I think it's just too big a company to really even have their feelers out for social media and things like this. But I've definitely put Grunt brand Twisted Sisal rope on some maps at the very least. Really nerdy maps, but still maps.
Which Mad Max movie was your favourite?
The latest one.
Yeah, the latest one. The older ones, I must say, have not dated particularly well. I always found the first Mad Max really slow. I know it's a world building and things like that. The second one's probably the second best. Thunderdome was probably the weakest, and then Fury Road is easily the best. I think it's almost the perfect action movie. It's absolutely amazing. Like, I could probably watch that. I should watch that again. Like, I could definitely watch that again.
Moose's Gear Review asks, what's my favourite place to go hiking, camping? Just near my house. I like to go relatively near my house, even still, because I've got little kids and it's nice to know that you're within reach. I'm not quite at that stage of just vanishing for long periods of time just yet. I like, places, usually riverside places, because I like to have a pool of water, like a natural source of water that I don't have to dig for, and I hate having to cart water with me, so we've got lots of river around where I live. So probably there. To our deep fried cheese curds in my country, we've got, we deep fry camembert cheese, but I don't think that's quite what you're talking about, which is nice, and we also fry halloumi cheese, which is a Greek cheese, which is excellent. That's probably one of my favourite things to eat. And what's my favourite portable sharpener to carry? It's a Falcon Even DC3, little diamond and ceramic stone, comes with a little leather pouch, weighs nothing. I've probably got one in every bag that I'm using at the moment, so very cool.
This fellow's wife wants to know when I'm going to do another pants review. He isn't sure why. I guess I'll just have to buy myself some reviewable pants. No comment on that one? Whenever I feel like it.
For all tasks, you can only carry one knife all year. And you have to sharpen it on the bottom of a ceramic mug. So that throws into question the want of carrying super steels and things like that. Very interesting. In that case, I would probably go really simple with something like one knife for all tasks. Well, I'm not sure if you meant folding or fixed blade, but I'd probably take a fixed blade. I'd probably take... you know what? No, I would take my Alex Stron. I was going to say my Falcon Even, but... This is my Alex Strong knives, little companion knife in Nitro V. You'd be able to sharpen this on a ceramic knife. It's not a powdered steel, it's just a tool steel. It's got a relative hardness to it, but you'll be able to get that done. It's a fixed blade, so it's probably a little bit more capable than the folding knife. And this, as well as the Falcon Even F1 Pro, are my two favourite fixed blade knives, with quite a wide margin between the things that are next. So there we go.
Question for you. What part of my knife hobby annoys you the most?
It's a bit topical actually, because one of the things that annoys me the most actually happened today, which is the camera being left around different places. So like when I look outside and I see the tripod on the table outside and it's blowing a gale, that kind of is a bit annoying, and
So
it just being like on the dining table or whatever.
I'm careless with my apparatus, which is, I often shoot videos in a bit of a frantic, like I get the idea, I film it, then I'm rushing in to edit it, and yes, the camera does get left out a bit. And today Basil knocked my DSLR off the camera, which is why half of these videos have slightly different, you could even say murkier sound, because Basil knocked the DSLR off and fucked up the lens. So thanks, Basil. But if that's it, then
That's it.
Yeah,
No,
I can work on that.
it's not very annoying.
49 Giants asks if I ever use any of my knives to make Vegemite sandwiches, and which one. Well, there's a common thing that happens here where I've put all of the kitchen knives in the dishwasher at once, and the butter knives, I don't know, I just don't love a butter knife, to be honest. So my preferred knife to make a Vegemite sandwich is a bread knife. So like a big serrated bread knife that has, so you can cut the bread on one side and then you can use the round side on the back of it to butter it. But yes, right now I'm using a ProTech Cambria to make a Vegemite sandwich, and it is doing fine. Like, as long as you don't use the wrong angle and cut the thing up, you can make a perfectly decent Vegemite sandwich. Geez, my bread's been a bit squashed. With anything, including a ProTech Cambria.
What's your biggest guilty pleasure? You go first.
Probably like Teen Mum.
Oh, like the TV show Teen Mum?
And like Dance Mums. So like trashy reality TV is probably my guilty pleasure. But I don't really, I wouldn't advertise necessarily that I love watching those shows, but...
No, fair enough. Mine is probably like spending probably too long nestled up playing like a Japanese role-playing game when I've got like other responsibilities and things like that to be doing. I often do feel a bit guilty for enjoying that pleasure. So there we go.
Sean Johnson asks, is SOG AUS8 a super steel? Not by many definitions. I would argue it's probably a very, very average steel. If it were a superhero, it would not be Superman, it would just be man.
If we, for whatever reason, had to choose another country to live in, which one would it be? And I think the commenter is probably right. I'd probably live in New Zealand, because chances are if we had to move from Australia, it will be because some other really annoying country had come too close to us and was making us into them. So New Zealand's about the furthest place from everyone that you can be. So that's why I would probably go there, but otherwise I have no interest in moving to anywhere else. I like it here.
If you had to, maybe Canada.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too different. Like, wouldn't have to change the way we the English common laws infiltrated all the countries that we've spoken about pretty well. So I think most things would go pretty smoothly.
German Survivalist is asking, do I ever think about quitting YouTube seriously? And do I have any other things that I'm perusing these days? Now you're into gaming for a bit. Yes, I was. So yeah, I do toss up the idea. Every probably year or so, I go through a bit of a existential crisis, and I think you could almost chart them on my videos and when there's those big gaps. And yeah, I do sometimes think, like, why am I doing this? Like, this is a lot of time, and it is... it depends on if it's still ticking my personal boxes. As I always said, my one economy in this is enjoyment. The money is only ever going straight back into it. So if I stopped YouTube, my personal life, I would not have less nice things in this house, for example. It would be the same. So yeah, I do consider it, but I never have, and I don't think I will, but I often consider it. How seriously? I'm not sure. It is just... yeah, I'm learning a few things about myself and how I deal with things, and how I deal with just that sheer wall of random on the internet that hits you when you put yourself out there. And to be honest, I'm probably not the most stoic for that sort of thing. I sort of, because I see this as a leisure thing, when people come and shit on it, I do take it a bit more personally than, it's funny, like even in my day-to-day, I'm dealing with a lot of people who really dislike me and I don't care at all. But it's funny when I put myself in the I'm having fun now space and you check your comments and there's still like people who are really just, that's what kind of thinks, well, why am I fucking doing this? But then overall, then that's just me, and I think most people are slightly narcissistic and only ever target on the bad stuff that's told to them as well. And then I use my rational brain and obviously look at my like to dislike ratio, which has basically never been below 95%, and it's ridiculous. So I try and keep myself in check just a little bit. So actively, I would say I'm 90% happy with YouTube, but sometimes the 10% hits me pretty hard. So that's it.
Here's the fella who watched your channel, Mithro Rose 27, oh, fella or lady, who knows. Mytho Rose, that does not define any kind of gender characteristics at all.
Gender's a social construct.
Question for both. What factors lead to a happy, lasting relationship? Well.
Gotta live.
Yeah.
Love.
Live, laugh, love. You could say it's our motto. I think we might have just coined that. We should trademark that very quickly. No, we have a relatively basic thing, like we just communicate what we want, and it's up to the other person if they can meet that want or not. I mean, you've married someone, you should never be embarrassed to talk to the person you've married. I mean, otherwise, why did you marry him? Go and marry someone else who you're not ashamed of anything for. You know, you should be completely honest and open. So it's very liberating. You tell the other person what you want, and then it's on them if they want to meet that want, or they can give you a reason why they can't. It's kind of the real basic little rule or cornerstone.
I mean, we're pretty lucky. We got married very young and we're very compatible.
Could have gone really bad.
Could have gone really bad.
Could have been like, hey, can we do this? And she'd have been like, I never want to do that in my life.
Yeah.
And, oh shit, we got married when we were 20. We didn't know what the fuck we're doing. But it's worked out so far. So it's, we're
lucky.
Mostly dumb luck, but we kind of try and maintain that with this little, we always just try and have it's a no shame zone sort of thing. And something I like to have in my head is the way I deal with other people. Like, I could at any point in my day just pull out my phone from my pocket and give it to her, and she could go through every little individual message, Snapchat, every corner of it, and there's nothing in there I'd be embarrassed. And so that's kind of how I deal with other people with as well. Like, there's no one who there's nothing I'd be ashamed that I'm doing when I'm at work or anywhere else. And I think that's how you have to kind of, the mindset you have to have. Like, you've got to check yourself with how you're dealing with other people as well. And
you basically just need to speak to each other in a nice way, or like, regardless of if you're arguing or whatever. I think just the way that you speak to each other is just really important.
It's how often do you see someone like being shitty with their partner, like in public, and then they'll actually bump into some rando who they'll never see again. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, you've got it backwards. Like, be dismissive of the rando you're never going to see again, and be nice to the person that you've fucking chosen, you moron. Like, you've chose this person. Why are you being assholes to each other? I don't know. That's kind of how we,
just be nice to each other.
Very pragmatical. Be nice to each other and tell each other what you want.
Gerbil Core asks, as an Australian, what are the quirks and difficulties of having a largely American audience? We are very, it's funny, we're a country, the people look very similar. We consume the same media and we watch the same movies and things like that. My audience, however, in America is obviously not representative of the entire America as well. I feel like my audience in America is, and this is not a critique, not a criticism, it's just the type of people that are into knives and things, generally seem a little bit more on the conservative side. Because I guess they're about those classical conservative ideals of personal freedom and those sorts of things, which come from when you're in a hobby that's kind of beset by often people trying to limit it. So that's understandable. And so therefore that circle is often overlapping heavily with the firearms circle, which is something that I'm not critical of, but I just have no understanding of. So things like when Benchmade had their thing and people lost their fucking mind, that really surprised me. And so I must say I'm always very conscious of trying not to poke that bear, so to speak. And I mean, the internet is full of hysterical people, and hysterical people are on all sides of it. Even the tough man, they're hysterical in a way as well. So everyone gets triggered very easily. But I'm just very aware of that mindset that I don't understand it. So I try not to really cover it too much or approach it too much, because it's just something that we don't live here in Australia. It's just not. We don't have the population density. We don't have the levels of ownership. It's not in our constitution. It's just a different country. Not better, not worse, just different. It's and that's something that I do find is a little bit. And we get lots of people every time something bad happens in America, they send over that story about how we've controlled our guns and all that sort of stuff. So people from our side of the fence can be pretty obnoxious with trying to force our views onto you guys as well, but there is a mercilessness to the, if you make a faux pas about that, it really is a sacred calf. And that's something that I'm really constantly trying to not engage with too much. And I'm probably engaging with it too much right now, even talking about it. But that is something that my particular audience of the American people seems a bit more intense about. So, and it's just something like that you would not understand about my country and I do not understand about yours. So just something I try and, I guess, avoid, which is always the best way, I think. Just avoid it. But apart from that, the sense of humor that I have seems to go down fairly well. I've gradually imprinted it. I haven't just started out making, because Australian humor definitely comes from British humor rather than American humor comes from American culture. We're a culture that's only half the age of yours, and so a lot of our stuff, a lot of our cues are taken. We're very much moldable still. A lot of our cues are taken from British humor, and that has sort of been a bit of a, like, some of my videos, I've noticed some jokes just go way over a lot of people's heads, but maybe they're just not good jokes either.
It's probably a question for you, love. Do you or would you consider eating ass?
Like a donkey?
Yeah, like a donkey. That's definitely what he means. I would imagine it would be a tough meat.
Yeah, I agree.
But in a survival situation, you may well have to one day eat a whole bunch of ass. But, yeah, I guess you do whatever your relationship needs to thrive, providing it's with the agreed parameters that you set and within the, you know, whatever social norm you've signed up to. So you do what you need to do, and I guess we would as well.
Mick Kime asks what my motivation is for making YouTube videos. This is a recent issue that I had because since I started the channel, I was using it to fill in these vast tracts of time where I was basically idle. I had my wife would be at work and I would work lots of night shifts and have, you know, I'd sleep until a certain time in the day, but then I'd be up and there'd be hours of time alone by myself. So it was just something to do, and I've liked these sharp things that we always talking about on the channel, and I have for a fair while. And it's just that whole thing. I sort of had a feeling like I had something to share about it because, you know, I've got a very kind of intense mindset towards them. When I'm into something, I like to know all about it. And so I've sort of got that meshes with this kind of somewhat creative side I've always had, which is about making things and producing media and content. So it kind of just overlapped in a very unusual way. I mean, kids these days, every kid wants to be a YouTuber, and they all think it's awesome, and they all think it's so cool that I am one until they work out that I'm a knife YouTuber, and then they're like, because every kid wants to be a bloody gaming YouTuber. It's his main thing, and I can see why, but you don't do it to make money, and I think they all think they're going to make money. This channel has always been neutral at best. Everything I make is, if I was to look at my whole spendings versus my whole takings, I'd still be running at a massive loss. But at any rate, so it's not for the money or even for the free stuff. The free stuff makes it feel worse. It makes it awkward, and it makes it free stuff, loaners, all that sort of stuff. I wish I could just have I wish I could just have a machine at home that I pushed a button and it made it myself without having to deal with any of the companies and without having to like mail stuff back and forward. That would be amazing, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, that's sidetracking. But yeah, I generally do it as something of an outlet and to share this kind of tickle I've got in my brain if I don't kind of talk about my quite niche hobby.
2 questions. How old are you and the misso?
32.
32. Are we worried about climate change? So 2 fairly different questions there. I don't worry every day about climate change. And I'm not really a weather scientist or anything like that. However, I think it is in our best interests to move away from the burning things type of fuels for lots of reasons. For a start, so we're not reliant on these horrible places to get our fuel from. I think that's a great reason for everyone to go green. above all else, and that's the best way to sell this stuff, because I don't quite know. I'm fairly certain that the climate is getting a little bit worse, and I'm fairly certain that it correlates quite well to us being incredibly industrial and, ripping up everything from underneath the ground and burning it and making it into smog. I think there's a reasonable correlation there, but again, are you a climate scientist? Because I'm not, but
I'm not, but
I generally am pretty happy with that. Like,
I'm not an expert, but I trust scientists and obviously agree that it's a very real thing that if action doesn't happen soon, our children are going to really suffer. And
it's going to get a bit shit. Like, we have a lot more, we without a doubt have a lot more bushfires in the last 20 years, like real bad bushfires, because the weather patterns are getting weirder and stranger.
We're in the middle of summer and I wore a jacket, like a winter jacket today to work.
What? It's cold. It's a global warming now. It's global. Yes, there's a lot of there's a lot of annoying stuff about it. Like, and it is. The weather is getting unusual, that's for sure. But I think we can all surely agree on, if we could all just have our own energy generated in our backyards, how could anyone have a problem with that unless you are a billionaire oil or coal oligarch from Russia? Like,
I mean,
honestly.
it's not only just climate change, the waste and everything.
Yeah.
It's a concern. And I think we're getting better than how it has been in the past. But
that being said, lithium is a filthy industry as well, and that's the basis of all battery/electrical power these days as well. So, there isn't really a great way to win, but surely less emissions and putting the power back into the consumer and the people with their electricity generation.
As bad as it sounds, the government should buy back all the electricity companies and then just find a better way to do it. But
I know, that's not, we're a little bit like that. I hate that.
It shouldn't be, I'm
all for capitalism, but I think there should be some agreed essentials that people aren't allowed to fuck with for a profit. And that is, having power to run your water heater and your lights in your house is one of those. It's only like 3 or 4 things, but fucking hell, come on, who could really worry about? Wouldn't you rather it was cheaper and just
everyone except the people who make money off it?
Yeah, and that's it. I hate how it's even complex. But anyway, global warming.
Just alienate your
And what was
audience.
the other question? And 32 is how old we are.
Camp knife recommendations that are about 4 inches, already has a strong arm and a mora, mainly for food. The Spyderco Waterway is the best. It's not the pattern isn't of a kitchen knife, but it's a great utility knife that you can use on food till the cows come home. That'd be a recommendation for a knife in that spec.
Have I ever been in a punch up? Or have you ever been in a punch up?
Never.
I mean, my job can be a bit dynamic sometimes. But yeah, I've never gone to a pub as a civilian and got into a fight or anything. I think I've been punched once or twice by loutish drunks in town. When I was a lot younger, I got punched in the face. I think I was going to meet you once.
You were.
And it's just some dickhead.
Like 17.
Yeah, I was like 17, walking through town. I was sober just to pick up. And it was just one of those. I did a clip before. I've shot my own answers before. One talking about alcohol. Brad asked about what drugs I think cause the most harm. And one of these loutish, stay till the end of the pub idiots gave me a clock right in the face out of kind of nowhere just because my eyes looked at him or something. And so that was that, and then I just kind of got on with my life and moved on. But not particularly. I don't seek that sort of thing. I don't think it's particularly cool. What's the biggest road rage incident we've seen?
Is that a common thing?
Yeah, it's not I mean, every now and then you get people.
The biggest thing I've ever seen is people speeding up in the overtaking lanes so that
people can't pass them, and then
they slow down.
Yeah, a bit of brake checking, all that sort of stuff.
Nothing.
I think we're relatively chill here. Obviously, you can look on the dash cam YouTube pages and stuff, and you can see all shit breaking loose, but
nothing sticks in my
pretty
memory.
rare, yeah, pretty rare.
Emma asks about ceramic sharpening rods. I don't really have any sage advice for that one, Emma, because I've never used the ceramic rods. This cat wants my breakfast. Never used the ceramic rods. It's something that I've always associated them with those ones you get in the knife block set that are just that I've always had too much of a learning curve with. But yeah, I am totally aware people are getting good results with them for sure. It can be a bit of a one tool one-piece kind of sharpening kit, unless your edges get really, really far gone. But yeah, I don't know much more about them than that. Sorry, man.
List all the illegal drugs you've taken in your life. It's got to explain where some of my videos come from. I've never been an illegal drug user at all. I have not had any. I've always been too scared that I will turn my brain in a way that I can't then turn back. That whole thing of what if this never ends? What if the high persists? You hear these horror stories about people doing acid trips and never being able to stop them, or like always having a little thing in the back, a little black spot in the back of their mind. And so I've been too easily scared straight by all the, I don't know, all the drug literature at school. You know, they do the play about the girl who takes one necky tablet and dies, and I'm just like, for me. I think you're about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess my videos just come from my naturally amazing brain.
Infinite Enzo, off topic from Knives, is talking about RPGs, and that is totally fine. I can talk about RPGs probably about as much as I can talk about knives. So yeah, he points out that I'm generally JRPGs, old school ones, and that's partly the case, but I love the modern ones as well. I love the Persona games, I love the Nier games, Automata, not so much the first one, which was just a bit too odd. Right now I'm playing Atelier Ryza on the Switch. I've just done Pokemon Sword, which I found incredibly average, like a real just by the numbers trudge through of just every other Pokemon game with less features. That was a disappointment. But before that, I played Dragon Quest XI. That was excellent. Went on just, I thought it had finished and it was twice as long again. It was amazing. Love the old Final Fantasies. Haven't played any of the newer ones because I'm lacking the PS4. But I also do love the Western RPGs, which is what you're asking me. The Skyrim and Elder Scrolls type, Skyrim could be one of my favorite games. Absolutely loved it. Fallout 3 I loved. I know those industries kind of went off the deep end just a little bit. Fallout 76 obviously really depressing for everyone. Elder Scrolls Online, I always hate when the company decides to do the online kind of gamble, like where they hope it's going to be just a perpetual cash grab, like say Final Fantasy XI or World of Warcraft turned out to be, but most of them don't, but I wish they'd stop. But yeah, I love my, even my old Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and all those sorts of old games as well. I've sunk a lot of time into them. Arcanum of Steamwork and Magic Obscura, awesome. Yes, I am a fan of the Western style. I've just played through The Witcher, Wild Hunt, whilst probably almost a bit more of an action game. Still really, really good. Played through that on the Switch. The Switch version was excellent, real achievement to be able to play that handheld as well. So no, I love all those games. Anything role playing. Not a big fan of like your shooter type games or your sports or your car games, but anything with a bit of a story to it, or with numerical character development, that really tickles me.
What do you think of National Treasure Crocodile Dundee? I would guess this person is not an Australian, I'm not sure.
Maybe they're being sarcastic.
Perhaps, yeah.
I don't think of him at all.
No, he's very well out of the... In fact, Paul Hogan's the only... I don't think I've seen Crocodile Dundee. Have you? Mm. Maybe I'd know if I saw it, but like, I know the bits obviously, but like, I mainly know Paul Hogan from his old sketch show he had before that, which was funny, and that was only because I had an old drama teacher at school who would watch clips of it because it was kind of Python-esque and funny, but yeah. And then the follow-up comment says that Steve Irwin is more of, I think Steve Irwin's more everyone's type of bloke. I think dying made everyone a Steve Irwin fan, didn't it a bit? Because I used to think he was kind of cringe, but then when he died, you start seeing all the nice things that he used to do, and it was less about... Because I don't know if everyone remembers this. When Steve Irwin was alive, there was a lot of people who were like, that guy's shit and obnoxious and like and embarrassing and all that sort of stuff. And when he died, that was when he became like this national treasure. And I must admit, I'm part of that kind of, that herd that kind of went with that. Because now I said like, oh, he was just nice and he enjoyed animals. But I guess he was a champion of a simpler time as well, wasn't he? He was like pre-Facebook, pre-outrage culture, cancelling, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's why we all think so fondly of him.
I think the Australian stereotype you should all look up is Russell Coight.
Yeah, Russell Coight. Just YouTube search Russell Coit. They're just the handshakes. They're just the best. The Russell Coit handshake clips. It's just the smallest thing, but it's just so funny. Russell Coit, COIGHT.
Someone who knows more about the old gang than anyone I know is an old mate of mine by the name of Steve Leach. Let's see if he's in. Okay, Steve.
Hey, Russell.
Okay, my clothes are wet. The sun's come out, so there's a good chance to get them dried off. The reality is, you're much better off being naked than having wet clothes against your skin, as it draws the moisture and lowers your core temperature. And that could cause a very bad case of exposure. And you certainly wouldn't... All Aussie adventures, time to hit the road.
And Rodrigo Teresa asks, do you rotate your videos during editing so they're not upside down?
Sam says, going back to basics, knife industry is flooded with all sorts of choices. Many of them are perfectly excellent EDC options. What do I personally look for in an everyday carry? What do I prioritise other than just being a well-manufactured product? Well, yeah, because I mean, I could get a well-manufactured product, but someone else could buy the same designation and get a really badly manufactured one. It's just how it is. So I go for designs that don't have a single annoying thing about them. If it's going to be something that's going with me every day, just nothing on it that I find even slightly of a hindrance. So a really good example is those line stills with the rotor block. I find the rotor block slightly annoying. So distilled over time, that means I will never carry it, like never really carry it, and especially once I've got my initial thoughts, perhaps any review I was doing out of the way. So basic is best, I think. The Spidey Chef, there is very little about this that I would find disagreeable. Nothing is presented to me as a major annoyance in the couple of years that I've been really quite heavily using this. And this is one that I'd probably recommend pretty readily to most people if they were happy to spend the cash on it. Just a decent blade still, not an amazing one, I don't care about that really. A non-fussy action that requires low maintenance is also really good. And I mean, you hear the stories about broken Omega springs on Benchmades and things like that. I've never experienced that, but that could be something to think of as well in terms of longevity. But just the basic EDC, nothing on it that's even slightly bothersome, as in no odd corners, nothing about the pocket clips frustrating. So you're going to find something that's pretty simple, pretty vanilla, but it's really kind of safe. And you can still have a bit of pride in it because once you've had it and used it, even though it is more of a basic knife, there's no inlays, there's nothing super fancy about it, it becomes yours after, you know, beginning to wear your use on it. So I guess that's my best answer, just shooting from the hip as I am right now. Logan. Logan, he asks, what makes us particularly happy these days?
Dropping the kids at school and then being able to go back into bed and watch an entire series of Netflix.
We're at a sweet spot with our kids at this period of time. They just go to school and stay there, and
that's like
got the day
my
to ourselves.
ultimate day. Don't get to do it very often, but
yeah, it does happen.
When it happens.
We've got a bit more time, and we'll watch some stuff after they go to bed as well. But yeah, it's just those days. We've finally got them back after however many years it's been. So
nice.
that's probably what's kicking goals for us at the moment. Thank you, Logan. John asks who my favourite Star Wars character is, and I would say that I like Kylo Ren the most. Yeah, it's a new character from the new sort of sequel trilogy. I think Kylo is what they were envisioning Anakin would be like in the prequel trilogy, but a mix of much better writing, as in character-driven writing. I don't love the plot, especially of the more recent Last Jedi. I didn't love that plot, but I really like how those certain characters are being written. He's portrayed by probably one of the finer actors in his age group at the moment. That Adam Driver is very rarely bad. I don't think I've seen him bad in anything. And there's just enough mixture of just juvenile angst, which is intentional. Like, I think that whole Kylo's a bit of a sook or whatever. It's supposed to be like that, and it's supposed to make you feel a certain way about the character. Plus, he's dangerous enough and is somewhat understandable in his motivation. So I think he's a very well done character in Star Wars, rather than a lot of them which are quite archetypal. So, I mean, Luke Skywalker's he probably had most of his actual character development, including the original films. He had most of it in the end of Return of the Jedi, no, the end of Empire and start of Return of the Jedi, and then a fair bit in The Last Jedi as well, for better or for worse, as some would say. But a lot of the characters are fairly thin, which is fine because it's more about the opera and the spectacle of it. But I think Kylo is a fairly well fleshed out character, and I enjoy watching him, and I kind of root for him for just as much of as I root for the ones I'm supposed to be rooting for, like Rey and Finn and Poe and whatever the other ones are called, Stinky and Bashful and Dancer and whoever. If your wife had a YouTube channel, what would it be about?
I do have a YouTube channel. It has all the 4 videos.
5 videos on it.
5 videos with tens of views each.
Tens.
But it is about being an autism parent, basically. And the reason I started it is because when you have a child on the spectrum and then your friends will say, oh, I've got a friend who's got a child on the spectrum, and then they'll give you their number and, you'll sort of support each other, and it was more just about practical things to
If I can just put it on video, I don't have to talk to any of these blankers anymore. No, not really.
I just thought that, it might
I can just
help.
refer them to I'll just text them a single link. Then I don't have to know you.
But I found it, it's like, I don't know, I'm just not that good at it. And
Well, you just got to make so many videos
and
to
you have
start
to do
making
like,
them.
it's a lot of time, and this year, since having children, I've been working nearly full time, and so really I have less time than ever, so it's not really high on my list of priorities. I have ideas for more videos, but
Feels good to make them though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it is-
when you get them up
it
and
is
you're just
fun.
like, yeah, I'm glad I've committed that to celluloid. So.
yeah.
And the second question, if I could make a living just on YouTube videos, would that appeal to me, or would I keep my day job? I would love to be a professional YouTuber and just do this, but I know that at any point there could be some crisis and YouTube could be like, we're cancelling the money program, or we're banning whatever it is, ways to make money, or Patreon could decide that they don't want to support. There is never going to be a unionized, I know there's the YouTube union, but there's never going to be a secure workplace on YouTube, like properly secure, unless you make so much money that you can just be like, cool, I've got 3 million in the bank, now do whatever I want. Let's say PewDiePie, he could stop now, but he's made enough already to do whatever he wants for the rest of his life. That's the only way. So, but I would love it, but no, I can't see myself leaving my day job, unfortunately. Zach Brobst points out that now Nick and Advanced Knife Bro are both living in the SoCal area. It would just be a short hop, skip and a jump over to their neck of the woods to make the ultimate knife video collaboration. Just the thought of what could be. Not sure the world's ready, frankly, for that. On a good week, Trey, how often do you catch yourself... Trey? How often do you catch yourself rolling your eyes at me and my shenanigans? Oh, I've got shenanigans all the time. Just so many of them. I dropped a whole bunch on the carpet before. It was just...
That's what that
That
was.
was what that was. That's what that brown stain is. Yes.
I don't really.
It's important that I am busy and happy, I suppose. You'd be rolling your eyes more if I was moping around the house, just being like, when are you coming home from work? I haven't done anything all day. I'm bored. You'd be rolling your eyes more at that if I was just like a layabout, wouldn't you? So
It's all good.
I think I just answered your question for you, sorry. And with one of the most Celtic names I think I've seen for a while, Dreolin O'Colic, sorry if that's wrong, asked what my last meal would be. I'm on death row. What is it? What last meal? You're on death row. What's your last meal? I would go with a rare cooked steak with some thick cut chips, heavily seasoned, and a Diane sauce, and then a glass of gin and tonic. Hopefully several. Alrighty. What's the biggest adversity we've had happen to us in our lives, and how have we overcome it? He used to have a really long username. He used to be a really long username. I remember him from other videos. He often does the timestamp breakdown of all the questions.
Oh yeah, that's handy.
That is handy. Bless you to whoever does that in this video. Maybe it'll be me. So, what's the biggest adversity we've had happen to us?
We've been pretty lucky. We haven't really had any big adversity.
We've not had any crushing illnesses. All of her hair fell out a few years ago. Just
I guess
she was bald, proper
we'll
bald.
put a picture.
Okay, will we?
Yeah, you put a picture.
Yeah, she was proper bald. It all just went.
It all just fell out. Had alopecia areata.
Yeah, and I guess you still do, but it's just not doing it at the moment.
I still get little patches every now and again of hair falling out, but nothing major.
They're mainly on her back though,
so it's fine.
So it's fine.
I mean, that was hard for a little while, and then I sort of got over it. And
you get used to it. You're like, this is my life now.
Tried a wig and hated it.
That was pretty. We won't put a photo of that, will we?
I don't care if you do. It's a pretty wiggy wig.
Yeah, it is a wiggy wig.
I only wore it twice.
I think I look better in a wig.
Should have just worn those ones.
I know, right? Yeah, the real people wigs. They're kind of grim, aren't they? The whole thing's a bit grim.
Look, if there are wigs out there that are really, really good, and you can't tell they're wigs, but you have to get them fixed onto your head, and you have to wear them all the time.
With a super
and they're really, really expensive. And but yeah, so.
Well, the wig you had was $1,000.
Yeah, but the wigs that I'm talking about are $6,000.
That's British colonial wig territory, surely that is.
Powdered wig.
Yeah, powdered wig territory, and then those.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
That was pretty.
That was pretty hard. That wasn't great.
It's unusual because I guess most of the other adversity we've gone through is our kids are annoying. We've got a baby who won't stop crying. We've got our son's got a bit autism, but you get around that, and that's like a gradual adversity that you kind of just.
Yeah, and then when you find out, you feel like it's a big thing, but then you actually realise
that life
over
just
time,
goes on, and
life finds a way.
It does.
Everything becomes your new normal. So we've never had anything that we couldn't get over that wasn't just our new normal. So, hair fell out. Oh well, I'm bald now. That's our new and you just sort of get on with your life. Yeah, we're a bit boring, really.
What?
You haven't had anything major.
No, apart from my, I don't know. No.
We're very lucky. We've both still got both of our parents.
Yeah.
We've both still got a grandparent each. Our kids are healthy. We're very lucky.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. AK
asks about shooting and guns. He asked if I have any guns, if I do, what are the restrictions, and if not, am I interested in ownership or whatever. I don't own any guns, but I do know the restrictions. In Australia, you need to have a license to own firearms, and the license is granted if you're a person of decent character. That is, you're not a criminal, or you're not a member of ISIS or something like that, or you're not mentally unwell. So if it's likely that if you got a gun you'd use it on yourself or someone else, you find it hard to get one, ideally. Then if you want to use a gun, you can use one without a license as long as you're with a licensed person. So that usually covers people who just want to go shooting for a day with their friends. Someone then is just the supervisory kind of person who can show everyone how to use them safely, all that sort of stuff. You also need to store them in a locked safe all the time. So we don't have that level of self-defense written around our guns as you do in the States, which, to people who love guns in the States, it sounds horrible, but here I don't think people are too bothered. It's just not a part of our culture as much, guns. That being said, I do enjoy shooting, and I'm quite a good shooter, and I've shot with other people, and it's fine. I don't particularly have a need to have them at my house, because I've got a lot of other things on, and it's not a problem here. I've never felt unsafe to the point where I've wanted to have a gun for quick access just in my day-to-day civilian life. So it's not really ever something I'd really push for or be too bothered about. And I know this is crazy. It's one of those things that, as I say, I'm often quite reluctant to talk about with the American viewers because it's almost falls into that PC territory where people will completely nuke you for seeming anti-gun or something, and I'm not anti-gun. I'm just just different gun is what it is here. It's just a different place. So that's kind of how I feel about guns in general. I'm happy to use them. I don't really feel compelled to own one. And I'm kind of happy with how things are here, to be honest, with how we think about them. So that's that. How does one know if we are on the spectrum? Now, I have experience in this because we did a whole bunch of the stuff with my lad and it's a diagnostic process. It's a lot of pediatricians and a lot of appointments and things like that, and it eventually ends up with, basically they do a test which, to really kind of butcher it, they ask input from 3 different people about certain behaviours, asking questions, usually from the child themselves, from an educator and from a parent, or from other people in the child's life, because lots of people feel like they are autistic, but maybe they just have some spectrum traits, and I think that's where I fall. I wouldn't say that I have autism or Asperger's or anything like that, but I have traits that I see very much more strongly in my son, that I've just probably by sheer luck or perhaps just by conditioning have sort of grown out of, or have just stayed minimal in my life. But it's generally, I feel my spectrum-esque traits are my intense desire and interest to the point where it's socially awkward about my hobbies. Often people who have autistic tendencies feel as strongly about objects and things as they do about people and sort of more human emotions. And I feel that gnawing in the back of my brain a little bit, that just that really impassioned sense you get about just what should be a more casual interest. So I think I'm quite happy with how my brain works, but there's just a lot of testing involved if you are interested to see where you sit on that ASD spectrum. And then you get the real far-reaching examples where kids or people can't focus on anything at all and have real irrational fears and real sort of unusual triggers that cause their brain to sort of basically shut down and cease learning or cease being able to deal with things. And there's a lot of it. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of also baffling sort of. Unfortunately, there's a lot of pseudoscience around it as well, but there is like hard data too, which you can, if you seek a proper licensed, qualified medical profession, they should be able to steer towards what's actual diagnosis rather than self-diagnosis. So that's about the spectrum. I think that should answer about as well as I can answer.
Righty, so Brad G asks which drug I think is causing the most societal harm. Like as in when it's abused. So the way I think of drugs causing societal harm is a circle of chaos around the user, and then how many users, i.e. how many circles of chaos are dotted all over the globe, and if they're overlapping, and just how much overall shit that the thing's causing in a more of an abstract sense as well. So a good way to illustrate this, we'll start off with a relatively low impact, I guess often illicit drug. I mean, it's legal in a lot of places now, and that's cannabis or marijuana. So cannabis user, we'll put him at the center here. So this is a guy, he's not just a user, he's abusing it. So he's doing it all day, he just can't stop, he's just got an addictive personality, he's chosen cannabis as the thing he's going to really sink his time into. So his circle of chaos is going to be relatively small. It's going to just be his immediate family and friends, perhaps the neighbor who, smells it coming through his house all day. The amount of people affected by this individual's misuse of cannabis on a more immediate scale is very small, so a circle of chaos is a lot smaller. On a more perhaps abstract sense, there is a larger circle caused by it being illegal and caused by it perhaps fueling a bit of a black market and putting money into pockets of people who also do other terrible things, for sure. There's a bit of that. There's also some of the slow-burning mental health concerns that are still up for debate, whether it causes larger long-term problems in terms of abnormalities in the mind. But generally, an individual cannabis abuser has got a relatively small circle of chaos around him. So moving through to a couple of others that are sort of similar to the cannabis user. You off there. So say you've got your party drugs, so your Mdma. So here's the person who's using Mdma. Can't go to a music festival without being, under some kind of induced delirium for sure. So again, sort of fairly similar. The thing this is spun out is there's a lot of societal hysteria, especially in Australia, about Mdma. because every now and then we'll have a high priority death, and it's always some young gorgeous person, some beautiful 19-year-old who's gone and taken her first one or whatever, and whatever it is. So the societal concern is kind of tangible on this one, but it's still a little bit vague. So you've still got a bit of a vague circle of chaos around it, and then perhaps another sort of more tangible one around that for just the the black market around it for sure. But in terms of the user, it's again a very small sort of circle of chaos, because people on MDMA largely, unless mixed with other things or done incorrectly, largely it doesn't cause the overt aggression or loutishness or whatever. It's mainly just makes people feel really good and want to fuck. So the smaller circle of chaos is largely going to be things that are caused by someone who's on the MDMA kind of being pretty unbearable to their immediate family and friends, because you generally find people who are into those drugs, don't shut the fuck up about them. And also, maybe they'll get someone pregnant, or they'll have that kind of personal chaos due to their use of it out just, going a bit bonkers. A lot of babies are born 9 months after the big music festivals in Australia, I know that much. So there's a smaller circle of chaos around it, though. It's a relatively benign, I would say, in terms of its overall societal harm. And that's again, in terms of societal harm, this is where it starts to, a very similar drug, but this is where you start to get those deaths piling up. And that's with the opiates. So, and I'm talking legal opiates, like the opiates which are perhaps overprescribed at pain clinics, things like that. Again, small circles of chaos. But the problem you've got then is, it's getting quite common for these people who are overdosing, and this is hitting all sorts of folks. You're getting more and more of them, and it's making what is now being referred to as a crisis, and it's causing a larger sort of societal concern around it. Still a bit more abstract. Still, you're not getting these people who are going and, firebombing cars because they think there's gremlins inside of them and all that sort of stuff. You might be getting, in the more desperate sense, people start doing robberies and things when they're properly addicted, because these start to be proper drugs of dependence. They start to hold up hospitals and go drug seeking and causing administrative waits, things like that. But also, you might have someone who's really jonesing, knows their neighbour's got some, and starts to perhaps be pushed by that chemical addiction to do a house break-in or something like that. So you're starting to get slightly larger, but still fairly, in terms of what I'll get to later, fairly intangible circles of chaos around these ones. So it's just the more widespread. I think it's 30,000 deaths in the US last year or something. It's getting pretty ridiculous. Whereas very few people overdose on MDMA. They're highly publicised when they do. And cannabis, I don't think there's yet been a recorded cannabis death directly caused by it. I think the worst thing cannabis is going to do to you is make you think you're a good driver and crash your car. But opiates are starting to become more of a wide societal concern when abused. Alcohol. So alcohol is, in my opinion, probably one of the worst ones, and again, mainly due to the overall widespread and social acceptance of alcohol and the behaviours it causes even. So the circle of chaos around an alcohol abuser. So here's your alcohol user, here's your alcohol user, here's your alcohol user, and here's your alcohol user. You get 4 of these people in the same place. So not only have they got someone, and I'm talking someone again who's drinking too much. We all know what too much is, I hope. So they're going to have a larger circle of chaos, because not only are their family and friends concerned, but alcohol generally has an effect. It starts to become a drug of significantly negatively altering human behaviour. So in terms of actually going out and affecting people who don't know that person. So a good example here is, so you've got these already people who are getting more aggressive. Maybe they're more likely to yell at their neighbours. Maybe they're more likely to drink, drive and crash and cause an injury and things like that. So you've already got wider harm than just their immediate family. And then you've got sort of this chaos effect when you get them in the same place and you start to see these more vague circles of chaos overlapping. And that's when you get a group of guys in these areas here just beating the shit out of each other at a pub because they've stayed right to the end and they didn't pick up, they're full of testosterone, and so they just fight each other. And that's how you get king hits and one-punch deaths and all that sort of stuff that's kind of getting a bit pressed in the media now. Alcohol has quite a wide circle of chaos. I mean, think about it. We are so certain that alcohol will cause violence that if you serve it to more than, depending on where you are, if you serve it to more than a certain amount of people at once, you have to have a security guard because it's that sure that it's going to cause violence. Like, how are we okay with this is something that always strikes me. But it is what it is. Most of us don't abuse it. Most of us just enjoy it from time to time. But people who are generally perhaps in their first few years of drinking it and figuring it out still, some people just can't drink. It just makes them insufferable. And some people are just, they go the full booze hound where they ruin their family and their immediate circle, and also just have that passing out in the main street as the school bus is driving past, all the kids seeing some dishevelled bum, all that sort of stuff that's caused by alcohol abuse. So I would say that's probably one of the more widespread. It may even be the top contender. So I'm not really going in order here, although my next one is probably the one that I would say is of most concern, and that's the amphetamine classes. So that's your ice, crystal meth, whatever it goes for, all the Breaking Bad bullshit. So the amphetamine user is here, and he has a very wide circle of chaos around him, the person who abuses amphetamines. Highly addictive, and it causes abnormalities in the body and mind. We know this. And it causes behaviours that will affect the random bystander. And that's where it starts to become a real societal problem. It's when you get someone randomly smashing someone's window because they're just angry. They've not been able to get their days fixed and they're storming around. They're just a bundle of nerves. Someone looks at them wrong, all that sort of stuff. So that's the immediate effect of use and withdrawal. And then you even think around here, it is known to cause psychological disorders. So you've got it's becoming a bit of a boob of sadness, isn't it? And then you've got your psychological disorders here, which aren't as abstract as some of the other ones. They're actually quite well documented, and the links are quite strong between ice users and they're rotting their brains and that sort of thing. And then that also causes, say, of course, as it gets more common, which it is becoming more common, you're getting like these circles really badly crossing over, and it ends up just starting to look like this. And you're getting, more than 2 or 3, if you've got more than 2 or 3 junkies that live on one street, even if there's 20 other people living on a street and there's 2 or 3 real bad ice abusers on that street, everyone will know about it. It's like a proper level of overlapping chaos that just really does spill out of that person's life way past their immediate family and friends. In fact, their immediate family and friends probably aren't affected anymore because there's nothing that makes parents drop their kids and husbands leave their wives faster than someone getting into this stuff. It really does toxify everything it touches. So I would say this is probably the worst one. If you have an individual loved one, this is the worst thing they can get into, I would say. But this, I would say, on a societal scale, given the massively widespread use of it, and things like I was saying, how you need to legislate for having more than a few alcohol consumers in one place, is pretty crazy as well, I think. And then a couple of the old ones that, as far as I can tell, aren't as in fashion anymore. Heroin's a good one, because heroin sort of, kind of similar to the opiates I was talking about before. You've got heroin, which is like really bad, chaotic circle. So the circle of chaos, it's smaller, but it's black. Like heroin's an all-consuming. It's just hyper addictive. And then you do start to get that more abstract, but still quite tangible. You get your stick-ups and your robberies and that sort of thing for people feeding their heroin habit. It's a really, really potent addictive drug. However, it's generally a self-destructive rather than outwardly destructive. Well, I mean, ice is both. Alcohol is generally self and a little bit outwardly destructive. Heroin's largely self-destructive apart from when it leaks into the industries that may get robbed and things like that because of it. So the heroin user will live a much shorter lifespan. It's a very, very grim, bleak, horrible drug. And it is kind of, the opiates are sort of giving like almost a more, as horrible as to say, like a cleaner version of that at the moment to more people, like a more, because it's got more of a sanctified face to it. I don't think people quite realise that it could almost be as bad, if not as bad. So there's that as well. Cocaine, I haven't had much to do with cocaine users or people who do it. I think it's probably most in the class of the party drugs, but I can't really talk about it because it never really hit where we live at all. So I don't really have much of a comment on that one. So there you go. But that's, Brad, what I think. I think you've got a tie between, not a tie, I'd say, as I said, amphetamines is what you really don't want your kids to get into. Alcohol, there's a lot known about it. It's well established. Agrarian societies have been drinking alcohol for 10,000 years, so our bodies are somewhat used to the poison. You often see it arrive in tribal societies that haven't had that Darwinism or that natural selection of alcohol, and it really hits them hard. But I think generally, I would love to see a little bit more intelligence around this, like less glorification of it. I don't think anything should be illegal. I think it should be dealt with as health problems, and yeah, just cut, as in for the users. So cut the supply for sure. But yeah, I think punishing the users is probably another really massive problem in the world, but that's probably another a tangent too far again. But yeah, I'd love to see more education about this, and yeah, just a massive reduction on this. Like, this is something I really wish we could uninvent. Go back to I think they invented it for the war or something. I started pushing it in the wars to get soldiers jumping over the trenches or whatever, and just one of those things you'd really just love to uninvent. There you go, that's my thoughts on that. Wow, long question, Brad, but there you go. I guess that's my interests are showing.
And the last question, going extra deep, is from Rusto, just asking, why? Why indeed?
Why indeed?
It's hard to imagine the unimaginable hardships that faced a bloke by the name of Edmund Kennedy. Back in 1843, he came through here searching for a route through to the tip of Cape York. With him were 12 men, 27 horses, 100 sheep, and a couple of dogs. It was a tough, grueling trip, and by the time Kennedy got back, he was dead.